I'm going to say it straight away, guys. I'm on a mission. So my mission is to make the world a healthier place, one gut at a time. Because when we eat better, we feel better. When we feel better, we think better. And when we think better, we make better decisions that create a positive ripple effect in the world. And you're actually going to see that in my presentation. So my style is very much educational because I do believe that when we understand what's going on in our body, what's off and what to do about it, then it becomes much more easy to follow a protocol or to change our habits, right? Okay, so I believe this is the one. No, the other one. Is it the other one? Right, we got there in the end. So I'm going to introduce myself very quickly. So my name is Amani. I am a nutritional therapist and functional medicine practitioner. What does that mean? I help my clients identify, understand, and address the root causes of their symptoms. So I'm not so much focused on symptom management. I really want to support my clients with chronic conditions by really getting to the root cause of it all. So I specialize in gut, hormone, and cardiometabolic health. So I tend to see clients with Crohn's disease, high blood pressure, PCOS, etc., etc. And I've been practicing for about 7 years. Actually, before that, I had a corporate job for a couple of years. So I worked in sales, account management, and marketing for super cool tech companies like LinkedIn, Indeed, and Oracle as well. Loved it, but my true calling has always been nutrition. And this is because of my own health issues, and I'll tell you more about my own health issues as we go along. So I do a lot of corporate wellness workshops, and I am in the process of developing my hormonal health supplement, which is a little bit of a nightmare. We've been at it for 2 years, but hey, we're enjoying the journey. And I also write for Newsweek and BBC Science Focus. And last but certainly not least, I'm also a lecturer at the Institute for Optimum Nutrition Enrichment. So anyone interested in becoming a nutritional therapist, come talk to me. So I lead the first module, which is all about principles of functional nutrition. And actually a fun story is when I told my parents that I was a lecturer, they couldn't stop laughing because they were like, finally, you're getting paid to lecture people, because I give them unsolicited advice all the time. So we've got a really packed session tonight, and hopefully we're going to be able to talk about everything within 45 minutes. So you're going to have to shut me up if I talk too much. So here's the agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about modern diets versus evolution. Where did we go wrong? There is so much to unpack. Then we're going to discuss the role of micronutrients in longevity. And obviously, because we're talking about food, we cannot not talk about the gut microbiome. And tonight we're going to focus on the gut-immune connection. And then obviously, because this is a whole session, we're going to talk about eating the rainbow and how it can really support our immunity. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to share some very simple meal strategies to upgrade your health. All right, let's get started. I want to start with a temperature check. So if you don't mind, if you could scan the QR code here. So it's Mentimeter. So either you go on Mentimeter and you type the code right there, or you scan the QR code. And I'm going to ask you to answer the following question. When it comes to your health, what is one thing you would like to improve or change? This is so interesting. And so we've got a lot of energy levels, energy again, sleep, consistency, weight, anxiety, hormonal balance. You know what is really interesting here is that, and I'm not totally surprised, everyone, to a certain extent, is dealing with some form of inflammation. And this is why this session today is really going to be about how we can start reversing disease dynamics, right? Thank you very much for participating. This is great. All right, guys, we are living longer, but not necessarily better. So according to a report published by the McKinsey Health Institute titled Adding Years to Your Life and Life to Those Years, and by the way, I highly recommend you download this report because it is fascinating. So according to this report, we are living 19 years longer than we did back in 1960. And this is due to progress in healthcare, public health, nutrition as well. However, we are now living about 50% of our life in less than ideal health, and actually 12% in poor health. So yes, life expectancy has increased, happy days, but the quality of our life hasn't, right? So this really raises the question, can we actually increase or improve our health span? And I'm actually going to talk about my own story. So as I said, one of the reasons why I became a nutritional therapist is because of my own health issues. So at the age of 12, I was diagnosed with asthma. And from the age of 12 until the age of 24, I took tons of medications. So I had my tablets, my inhaler, so for about 12 years. Guess what? Nothing changed. Now, I don't have asthma anymore. And back in the days, my diet was never questioned. But the only thing that I have changed is actually my diet. So I'm just going to put it out there. It is obvious that our nutrition plays a huge role in reducing or promoting inflammation, right? So I really want to take you back to thousands of years ago. There's clearly an evolutionary mismatch. So for thousands and thousands of years, human bodies evolved to digest the foods of our ancestors, so hunter-gatherers. They were eating meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, and nuts, right? So basically, our digestive systems, metabolisms, and gut microbiomes were shaped by unprocessed whole foods. And this happened for thousands and thousands of years. Now, in the last 100 years, things have massively changed. So the food environment has massively changed with the Industrial Revolution and then also a huge rise in intensive farming practices. So we have introduced UPFs, ultra-processed foods. We have introduced refined sugars. We have introduced seed oils, you name it, plenty of chemicals. And unfortunately, our bodies have not adapted to digest the types and amounts of foods that we have today. What is really happening is that we are eating a lot. Our diets are calorie dense, but unfortunately nutrient poor. And to a certain extent, we are actually malnourished because yes, we have access to a lot of food, but it's not very nutritious. And this is what we're going to discuss today. No wonder why there is now an increase in chronic conditions. 30% more digestive issues, 50% more anxiety and depression cases. So according to Mind UK, 1 in 4 people in the UK struggles with mental health challenges. And then let's talk about immune and autoimmune conditions. I was reading this article the other day, and 1 in 11 children nowadays in the UK struggles with asthma. This is huge. So this basically illustrates the principles of epigenetics, where basically our lifestyle, environment, and diets can actually influence our gene expression. Now, I know it's a little bit depressing, but the good news is that there is so much we can do to start reversing disease dynamics. And we can actually use nutrigenomics, so nutrition, to change the expression of certain genes, right? And actually, if you think about certain populations today, actually, some populations in the world live a very healthy and longer life. These are called the blue zones. So some of you may have heard about blue zones before. So these regions in the world were identified in 2004 by a group of researchers. And they identified these regions because they were looking for areas in the world where people live until 100 and beyond. So these blue zones are Loma Linda in California, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria in Greece, and Okinawa in Japan. So they're actually called blue zones because the researchers mapped these areas using a blue pen. That's why. Now, do the blue zones hold the secrets to health and longevity? That is the question. Now, what can we learn from centenarians? I'm going to put it out there straight away. 85% of centenarians are women. We're doing well, ladies, definitely. So, what can we learn from these centenarians? Well, they predominantly eat colorful plants. They also eat seasonal food, what is in season. And the reason is, when you eat seasonal foods, they are more nutrient dense, right? They also consume fewer ingredients. When you think about our plates nowadays, they are overloaded with tons of different things, a lot of chemicals as well. So our immune systems and our digestive systems are confused. They don't know what to do with all of that food. So sometimes fewer ingredients, and especially if you're dealing with digestive issues, is actually the way to go. Ancestral food processing, things like sprouting, fermenting, soaking as well. Think about legumes, for example. When you soak them overnight, you remove a lot of anti-nutrients. So legumes contain a lot of minerals that we need to function optimally, but if we consume them with anti-nutrients, then we do not absorb all of the good stuff. So ancestral food processing is a really, really important one as well. Healthy cooking methods. We deep fry everything nowadays, but steaming or even slow cooking is a better idea. Actually, there's a lot of antioxidants that are liberated when we slow cook, for example, tomatoes. Lycopene in tomatoes is actually activated when we slow cook tomatoes. Portion control and mindful eating, which goes really well with the last point, which is regular social meals. So, food is a celebration. Food is really a celebration. So these people gather together, sometimes they even cook together, they talk about life, and they share small plates. So it's not a gigantic plate, it's kind of tapas style. So they share their food, and also they eat at regular times. So unfortunately today, we often eat at irregular times, or we skip meals here and there because, life is lifing, I guess. But unfortunately, this is not really good for our digestive systems because we need to train our digestive systems to secrete digestive juices around the same time, every single day. Because when we have sufficient digestive juices, we can break down our food and absorb all of the good stuff. And so basically they practice, and my Japanese is terrible, but they practice this principle of hara hashibu, which in Japanese means eating until you're 80% full. So I don't know about you, but I feel like we're doing pretty much the opposite. So there's a lot of things that we can learn from these centenarians, right? So, especially for the purpose of tonight, I really want us to start thinking beyond macronutrients. I don't know about you, but I feel like in the health and wellness industry, there is a massive, massive emphasis on macronutrients. Your fats, your proteins, your carbohydrates, and it's for a very good reason. They are excellent. So we often talk about the ketogenic diet, which is a high-fat diet, which is fantastic for people dealing with neurodegenerative conditions. We often promote a high-protein, low-carb diet for obvious reasons: blood sugar balance, weight loss, also cognitive function. There's a lot of amino acids in proteins that are precursors to serotonin and dopamine, so really good for the brain as well. So macronutrients are fantastic. However, in the context of longevity and immunity, micronutrients are the winners, right? So micronutrients are the key to increasing our health span. So I'm going to spend some time talking about macronutrients and micronutrients and really explain the difference. So macronutrients basically provide structure and fuel. So this is why you see a picture of a house. So it's like literally building a house. So it's structure and fuel. Now, micronutrients, on the other hand, optimize cellular processes. So in order for your house to run smoothly, you may need an electrician. You may need a plumber. You may need a cleaner, a housekeeper. So micronutrients are there to optimize cellular processes. And micronutrients, by the way, are vitamins, minerals, and also phytonutrients. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples to kind of illustrate the benefits of these micronutrients. So vitamins, for example, for the most part, help to convert food into energy. So I'm going to take the example of B vitamins because when I work with clients, oh my goodness, I've never come across anyone with optimal levels of B vitamins. And that's an easy fix. So B vitamins act as cofactors for enzymes that convert carbs, fats, and proteins into energy. So they basically facilitate the conversion of raw material, let's say, into usable energy. Minerals regulate physiological processes. So minerals are, for example, magnesium, potassium, calcium, etc., etc. So in the case of magnesium here, magnesium is really, really important to activate ATP. ATP is the energy currency. But the thing with magnesium, it's very similar actually to B vitamins. A lot of clients, a lot of people nowadays are deficient in magnesium. And there's many reasons for that. One of them is stress, because stress depletes magnesium. And something that we're going to discuss in a couple of minutes is that our soils are depleted. So if the minerals are not in the soil, they are certainly not in your food. Phytonutrients, another type of micronutrients, they act as antioxidants to help reduce inflammation. We're going to talk some more about phytonutrients in a bit, especially in the context of the gut microbiome. But for example, flavonoids, which are found in berries, can reduce gut inflammation. So they basically strengthen the tight junctions in the gut lining to reduce the likelihood of developing leaky gut, which is probably a concept that you have heard about before. All right. So modern life demands more micronutrients. So not only we need micronutrients to increase our health span and longevity, but modern life in particular demands even more micronutrients. And this is for some of the reasons that I'm going to discuss now. So UPS, we've talked a little bit about ultra-processed foods when we talked about the evolutionary mismatch. So ultra-processed foods basically nowadays make up 60% of the food in our supermarket trolleys, right? And as we know, they are devoid of any nutrients, right? So they are calorie dense, but nutrient poor. So I quickly mentioned soil depletion. What is not in the soil is not going to be in your food. Also, we have never been exposed to this amount of toxins. So there's an increased exposure to toxins. So the other day I was reading this article. So researchers basically found 300 different chemicals in the umbilical cord blood of newborn babies. This is sad. And then also modern lifestyle stressors. Chronic stress, always a big one, a big factor, because it depletes minerals such as magnesium. Also, irregular eating habits. What I was saying earlier is that, if we eat at random times during the day, then our digestive system is not trained to secrete all of the digestive juices to digest and break down and absorb our nutrients. Aging population as well. So as we get older, our cells become weaker. So we have an increased need for micronutrients to support, again, healthy aging, so basically longevity and our immune system as well. So I really want to zoom in on soil depletion and toxicity for a second, because these are so important. There's this phenomenon that is happening, which is called the hidden hunger. So even though in the Western world we have access to so much food, we are still, to a certain extent, malnourished. So there's this study that showed that micronutrient deficiencies in modern diets are iron, vitamin A, vitamin C, iodine, and zinc as well. And this is due to modern agricultural practices. So I talked a little bit about soil depletion, but this is because of monocropping. So we basically grow the same crops repeatedly over and over again in the same land, and we don't give enough time to the soil to rest and regenerate. And there's also this other phenomenon, which is called selective breeding, where basically we select the best varieties because they look prettier, because they're cheaper, because of probably other factors as well. So we end up with food, look at this whole broccoli over there, we end up with food that is devoid of nutrients. So since 1950, modern broccoli has lost 64% of calcium, 44% of its iron, and then 24% of vitamin C. So when we think about I think the recommendations are we need to eat like 5 portions of fruits and vegetables every day. But the big question mark is that even enough? Another aspect that I wanted to discuss as well, it's our exposure to toxins. We are literally swimming in a toxic soup. Pollution, pesticides, food additives, seed oils, you name it. And it's just part of living in the city. And I know it can be a little bit depressing, but don't worry, I've got plenty of recommendations for you. So this really goes to show that nowadays, antioxidants are no longer just a nice to have. We absolutely need to consume antioxidants on a regular basis. And by the way, this is my all-time favorite picture to explain what antioxidants do. So you've got a lovely healthy cell on your right, and when you're exposed to toxins, they produce free radicals. And free radicals are unstable molecules that have lost an electron, and they are trying to grab that electron from the healthy cell. And if they manage to do it, then your healthy cell becomes damaged, right? However, the role of antioxidants is to provide that extra electron to the free radical so it can stabilize itself and not cause any damage, right? So this is why antioxidants are an absolute must. So we know that antioxidants are there to reduce inflammation. But when we think about inflammation, we often think about external sources of inflammation. Now, another common source of inflammation, and we don't often think about it, it is actually our gut microbiome. So I was definitely going to mention the gut microbiome at some point. So our gut microbiome is actually also a source of inflammation. So let's maybe do a crash course on the gut microbiome, and then I'm going to explain the gut-immune connection. So the gut microbiome is basically a vast ecosystem made up of trillions of bacteria, fungi, microorganisms, yeast, loads of different things. So the best analogy that I typically use is the Amazon rainforest. So you've got loads of species that are supposed to live in symbiosis. So if one species either goes extinct or overpopulates, then the whole ecosystem is thrown off. So that's very similar in the gut microbiome. And the thing is, our own gut microbiome can actually produce free radicals, so can actually produce inflammation, really. And this typically happens when our gut bacteria are out of balance, when we have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, when we have what we call dysbiosis, right? And so when this happens, obviously it causes inflammation in the gut microbiome in the body. And one of the roles of gut bacteria is basically to neutralize toxins from our diet. When we consume ultra-processed foods, seed oils, etc., etc., the role of the gut microbiome, to a certain extent, is to neutralize these toxins. However, when the gut microbiome is out of balance, it cannot do that anymore. So what happens is that the immune system will take over. And this is why, and I absolutely love this picture again, this is why we say that 70% of the immune system is located in the gut. It's for a very good reason. So you've got on the left your gut microbiome, and then the gut lining in the middle, and right behind the gut lining, you've got your immune system, 70% of your immune system, which is called the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, right? And so if the gut bacteria are not able to do their job properly, it's the immune system that's going to take over. And that's a perfectly normal reaction. So there's a communication between gut bacteria and immune cells. So the gut bacteria are going to be like, okay, guys, we've got a situation, you need to take over. And the immune cells are going to be, no worries, we're going to take care of that. That's a perfectly normal reaction. You might then need to run to the bathroom. You might get, a headache, fever, perfectly normal. Now, what we are observing these days is all of a sudden people wake up with a rash. They start having, joint pain. They start reacting to certain foods. And they're like, I don't really know how it happened because I've never had this issue before. And this is typically because they are dealing with what we call low-grade inflammation. If you do remember some of your answers, some people said, I'm working to improve my sleep, my hormones, etc., etc. very often when there's an imbalance that becomes more visible, it is the result of long-term low-grade inflammation. And this happens when your gut bacteria are out of balance and your immune system is chronically activated because it needs to be hypervigilant. Yeah? So basically what I'm trying to say here is that we need to start supporting our gut microbiome in order to support our immune system. Because the role of the immune system is not to be chronically activated like 24/7, right? So how do we do that? Well, the first thing that I'm going to say, and Dan is going to be so happy, I often recommend assessing your immune resilience with a gut microbiome test. I am personally a huge fan of gut microbiome testing. So it's a really, really good way to assess the composition of your gut microbiome, identify potential pathogenic bacteria, imbalanced bacteria, dysbiotic bacteria, yeast, parasites. There's also inflammation markers indicative of leaky gut. There's also other biomarkers that will show you how well you're digesting your fats, your proteins, your carbohydrates. So it's really, really comprehensive. And what I always say is that you do not wake up one day with type 2 diabetes or another condition. It's usually the result of years and years and years of low-grade inflammation. So when you do a stool test, you've got an opportunity to detect things early on. And in this case, we're talking about dysbiosis. So we can detect dysbiosis, and we can also personalize your protocol. Because at the end of the day, and I know I'm going to give you some generic advice anyways, but at the end of the day, generic advice will only take you so far. So this is something that I highly recommend. And also, when it comes to gut microbiome testing, you always want to go. So whether you decide to go with Regenerus or not, it doesn't really matter. I highly recommend doing a 3-day stool test. It's not very sexy because you're going to have to keep the samples in the fridge. But the reason why I highly recommend doing that is because your gut microbiome is like a battlefield. So every day is going to be different. So if you want all the imbalances to be picked up, you ideally want to do a 3-day stool test, right? So, by the way, a screenshot of the gut microbiome test of one of my clients. So, young lady, only 32, already dealing with rheumatoid arthritis in her hands. So she came to see me very often when there's an immune condition, we need to look at the gut. So here we are looking at dysbiotic bacteria, imbalanced bacteria. This is what we call low-grade inflammation, and also at this point, because she's feeling it already, it's chronic inflammation. So part of her protocol is obviously to address all of the imbalances here. So now, this is very specific, but now I'm going to give you some generic recommendations, and if you want to take a screenshot of this, I highly recommend you do, if you want to start supporting your gut health and your immune health. I can almost promise you that if you eat one food in each category every single day for the next 30 days, you're going to notice a massive difference. So let's talk about some of them. Probiotic-rich foods, nothing new here. Probiotics are essential. Now, the thing with probiotics is that if you drink kombucha once a week, it's not going to make any difference. Probiotics will not fully colonize your gut. They are like tourists in a city. They improve the economy of the country, but they do not stay. So this is why you need to consume probiotics every single day. So you pick the one you really like. And personally, I have a preference for liquid probiotics, like the lovely ladies here, Naked Biotics. And the reason is, it's personal preference, but the reason is very often your stomach acid will also destroy bacteria. So even if you eat, fermented foods, you're not sure that all of the probiotics will make it to your gut. However, when you drink a liquid probiotic, you basically reduce the transit time. So it goes straight to where it needs to go. So liquid probiotics, especially if you're sensitive to certain foods, then a liquid probiotic is literally the way to go. Prebiotic foods are basically foods that contain a specific type of fiber that feeds your gut bacteria. It's good to have fermented foods and to have a diverse gut microbiome, but you need to make sure that they also eat, and they love prebiotic fiber. Anti-inflammatory foods, for the reasons we discussed earlier, our own gut microbiome can produce inflammation as well, and also gut barrier support. So the gut lining is 1 cell thick. So we need to make sure it is protected. So things like bone broth, because it contains collagen, or other collagen-rich foods, such as your fish with the skin on, your chicken with the skin on, protein as well, if you do remember, macronutrients or structural components. So the gut lining need protein, so amino acids in particular, and zinc-rich foods as well. They strengthen the gut lining. So these are excellent recommendations, generic, but they will give you some benefits for sure. But obviously, if you wanted something a bit more personalized, then a gut microbiome test would be my #1 recommendation. All right, so I want to kind of bring it all together and talk about this concept of eating the rainbow. So the thing is, if you start eating the rainbow, you're going to tick all of the boxes. Everything that we discussed today. We talked about the importance of micronutrients in the context of longevity and obviously to increase our health span. So when you start eating these foods, not only you're getting all of the vitamins, you're also getting all of the minerals and also the phytonutrients. So if this is something you are interested in and you like the concept of eating the rainbow, I highly recommend buying The Rainbow Diet by Dr. Diana Minnick. She is excellent. She has a lot of free resources as well on her website if you want to check it out. But I'm going to summarize everything, and I'm going to talk to you about the most important foods. And the color is connected to a body system. So, for example, if we think about red foods, so your red apples, your beetroots, your tomatoes, etc., they contain specific phytonutrients and also vitamins, such as vitamin C, which can support your immune system. So, for example, vitamin C supports the production of white blood cells, which are immune cells. So, in the context of cancer or cancer treatment and cancer prevention, red foods are excellent. Then, moving on to orange foods. Orange foods are connected to your reproductive health. So if you are someone struggling with hormonal imbalances, fertility issues as well, orange foods are excellent for you. So they contain beta-carotene, and beta-carotene is converted to vitamin A. And vitamin A helps to convert cholesterol into estrogen, progesterone, and sperm as well. So reproductive health, orange foods. Yellow is the digestive system. So foods such as ginger, turmeric as well are absolutely fabulous. So ginger in particular is really good for bloating, constipation, nausea as well. The green color is for cardiovascular health. A lot of green foods contain nitrates. And so nitrates are converted into nitric oxide. And this is kind of a vasodilator, so it relaxes the blood vessels. So when you eat green foods, you support your blood vessels. So if you know anyone with high blood pressure, so for example, you can actually use these foods in a preventative way as well. In my family, there's a lot of cardiovascular issues. So you best believe that I am eating greens all day, every day. Black and blue foods are really, really good for healthy aging. So think about foods like black olives, dark grapes, and blueberries. They are excellent for cellular repair because they contain the highest amount of antioxidants. And then, last but definitely not least, purple foods. They are really, really good for brain health. A lot of people with neurodegenerative conditions definitely can benefit from eating those foods. Now, I want to share this study with you because I think it is absolutely brilliant. The fruit and veg study is one of my all-time favorite studies. I always share it when I do a presentation. First of all, because it's such a short study, it's only 14 days. And then also, so this study in particular was done on 171 participants aged 18 to 25. They did not even change their diet. The only thing they did was adding 2 portions of servings of fresh fruits and vegetables every single day. After 2 weeks, what happened? They felt much better. There you go. All right. I've got just maybe a few more slides, but I couldn't talk about micronutrients without mentioning herbs and spices. This is actually one of my favorite slides because if you don't know where to start, if you don't have the money to go and buy, lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, this is a really simple way to start reducing inflammation in your body. So either tonight or tomorrow, I want you to open your cupboards and look at what you've got, because I'm pretty sure most of you already have some turmeric, ginger, cinnamon in your cupboard. And what I love about these spices is that they can actually reduce inflammatory markers within just a couple of weeks if you consume them every single day. So for example, turmeric, so curcumin is the active compound of turmeric, can actually reduce CRP, C-reactive protein, just an inflammatory marker, by 15 to 20% within just a couple of weeks. Turmeric, oh my goodness, we can add it to absolutely everything. Half a teaspoon to your eggs, half a teaspoon to your porridge, yogurt, turmeric lattes, like you can add turmeric to absolutely everything. And you don't even need to buy fancy tea bags. It's like, you boil some water and then you add a bit of turmeric tea. Happy days. Ginger, cinnamon. For those of you who are worried about your blood sugar levels, you can add cinnamon to your fruits. On top of oranges, it's really, really good. So oranges, bananas, apples. So you get the benefits from cinnamon without the blood sugar response. Garlic, actually that's a funny one. So my dad is 85 years old. Annoyingly, he is the healthiest person in the world. And what he started doing 20 years ago, I'm saying annoyingly because he has never followed any of my recommendations. And, I lecture my parents. So 20 years ago, he started eating a piece of raw garlic every single morning. And he was like, I don't care. I'm going to smell, but that's okay. And he's really, really healthy today. So he knew it all along. And last but definitely not least, herbs. Honestly, use herbs and spices. So with herbs, basil, rosemary, sage, thyme, we all have some herbs at home. So what I tend to do very often, with all of the herbs that I have left, I just make a big teapot. I put all of the herbs there and that's it. As simple as that. So I want to share with you, and this is something that I would also encourage you to take a picture of it. So this is the Spring Rainbow Diet. So this is based on my own Google research. I have identified all of the seasonal foods in the UK for spring. So the reason why it is so potent is because when you eat seasonal, if you do remember what we said about centenarians, seasonal eating means that not only your food is going to be nutrient dense, but then it's going to be cheaper as well because it's seasonal. So you might as well. So if you've already taken the picture, I'm going to finish with this. 5 golden rules to supercharge your plate. So I want you to start doing these things every single day. I want you to start boosting every meal with at least 3 herbs and spices. Super easy. You want to aim for 5 colors with each meal. So we're not talking about overloading our plates with tons and tons of different things. Keep it simple, but add herbs and spices. These are also colors. So make sure you have 5 different colors with each meal. You can also play this lovely game called Eat the Alphabet. I'm sure everyone is familiar with Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. So he came up with this Eat the Alphabet game where basically you're going to eat a fruit or a vegetable that starts with each letter of the alphabet. So every week you're going to buy a new food. So it's just a lovely way to introduce variety into your diet. And then you want to choose seasonal and local over organic any day. When you eat seasonal and local, first of all, it is nutrient dense and generally there's fewer pesticides used. And to be honest with you, I kind of question how organic is my kiwi from New Zealand. So always choose seasonal and local over organic. And it's going to be cheaper anyways. And last but definitely not least, stock up on frozen produce. So I get that question a lot. You know, a lot of people are worried about the nutrient content of frozen fruits and vegetables. You would be surprised, actually, frozen fruits in particular contain, in most cases, more nutrients than fresh fruits. And the reason is a lot of antioxidants are heat sensitive and also light sensitive. So if you put them in the freezer, problem solved. But then also think about when they are picked. Because these fruits are going to be frozen, they are picked at peak ripeness, so they have all of the nutrients. Your supermarket quality fresh fruits and vegetables, because they need to travel to your shelves, they are usually picked about 2 weeks before peak ripeness. So they don't have the same nutritional value. So don't ever hesitate to buy frozen fruits and also vegetables, and they tend to be cheaper anyways. So how are we getting on time-wise? Good? So then a very last thing, a very last game that I would like us to play is just, you know, something really nice to kind of finish the presentation, and then I'm going to take some questions. It's the name to plate challenge. So basically, I want you to pick the 3 first letters of your name and aim to eat a fruit, veg, herb, spice that start with each one of them. My name is Amani. AMA, this week I'm eating artichokes, mint, and apricots. I don't know if it's in season, to be honest, but this is just to play the game. So I would like you to do exactly the same and either do it for yourself or share the list with your, the person sitting next to you. Well, this is just a nice, fun game. But at the end of the day, because we have a bit of time anyways, I'm just going to thank you for your time. I hope it was inspiring, empowering, that you know what to do next. So I've got a couple of free resources for you if you're interested. So I've got a free guide to flawless digestion, a guide to thriving through every hormonal stage. That's for my ladies dealing with hormonal imbalances. And the 5 recipes to boost your immune system. I have to apologize. They were going to be available sometime this week, but my website, I don't know exactly what happened. But when Social Wellness Club is going to send the follow-up email, I'm just going to make sure to include these recipes there. And if you want to get a personalized plan, then you can come talk to me. Thank you very much.